This summer, two of my daughters, Caroline and Isabel, will graduate from high school, from Gymnasium. They're both interested in perhaps becoming engineers, and so it seems likely that they'll start studying at the ETH in Zurich in the fall. What will they find there? Well, first, certainly world-class research. Second, challenging but highly stimulating curricula. Third, innovation in research and in teaching. And fourth, men. Lots of men. Engineering is still today, at least in Switzerland, largely in the hands of men. And that's quite obvious. Less than a third of the students at the ETH of Zurich are women. At the faculty level, it's even much worse. It almost seems ironic that an institution of learning with so much intelligence and so much innovation seems to be so far behind the curve when it comes to gender parity. Is it that universities are simply doomed due to their structure, due to their nature, to be laggards in gender equality? Looking back through history, one can realize that the answer is no. In fact, universities can also be leaders in promoting gender equality. And we learn that whether you are a laggard or a leader depends in large part on the people at the very top and on the decisions that they take. Let me tell you the story of Nadezhda Suslova, the first woman to earn a doctoral degree in Europe. Nadezhda grew up in the middle of the 19th century in Russia. She wanted to become a physician, a medical doctor. Because women were not allowed to study in Russia, Nadezhda moved to Zurich, to Switzerland, because she had learned that at the University of Zurich, women were allowed to sit into classes, listen in if you want. And she did that and learned the trade. At the end of a few years, she felt ready to become a doctor. But she was not a registered student. So she simply wrote to the university president and said, "Dear President, I know my trade now. Could I please take the exam so that I can get my doctorate and become a medical doctor?" The president was slightly taken aback. He didn't know what to do with this request. Giving a doctorate degree to a woman has never happened before. So he went to the Minister of Education asking for advice. Minister asked, "Well, what do the regulations say?" "Well, they don't say anything about women studying. So it's not forbidden." "Well, no, not explicitly." "Well, then?" So the wise minister gave a hint to the president. The president, being a pragmatic man, decided, well, if there's no rule against it, why not? Allowed Nadezhda to defend her thesis, and she became a medical doctor. With her degree, went back to Russia and became a physician there. Word that a woman could get a doctoral degree at the University of Zurich spread through Europe like wildfire. And very rapidly, many more women came to Switzerland to study. Within less than 10 years, over a quarter of the student population in the University of Zurich were women. And because other universities in Switzerland rapidly followed the example of the University of Zurich, this became a national phenomenon. By 1906, more than a quarter of the student population in Switzerland were women. And of course, these young women, with their freshly minted diploma in their pockets, went into the workforce and started working in areas that previously were limited to men. The medical field, the legal field. Of course, the first pioneers had a tough time. But with the time, the road became good, well-trodden, and basically these pioneers allowed the many, many, many women who came after them to enter into these areas of work. So you could say that this very important milestone on the road to gender equality was taken thanks to an ambitious and bold young woman, a pragmatic university president, and a wise minister of education. Ironically, academia itself took a long time before they realized that they could also profit from this new wave of talent that they were training and that was leaving their doors. It seems as if it was okay for women to study, but that we didn't really want them among ourselves. And indeed, it took all the way up to 1958 before the first woman full professor was appointed at the Swiss universities in Geneva. At the ETH Zurich, it took even longer. The first full female professor was appointed only in 1985. Of course, things accelerated since then, but we're still far away from where we want to be. Today, only a quarter of all professors in Switzerland are women. Within the ETH domain, it's less than 1 in 5. So what's going on here? Are these universities sleeping? Is nothing going on? Have they forgotten that they have a contribution to make for gender equality, for equal opportunity? No, not completely. A lot has happened, positive things, largely in the core businesses of research and education. So for example, over the years, many research studies have been made who showed that gender equality was not only the morally right thing to do, but that it brought with it many societal benefits and even benefits for the institutions that adopt them. There's a lot of evidence, for example, that mixed teams are better teams, more productive, more resilient than teams composed of people who all come from the same background. Gender studies is a common core offering in many universities, and gendered research and gendered teaching have also been spreading more and more throughout academia. The issue of gender parity at the professor level, however, is still with us. And I think we'll only solve this problem by first accepting that it is a problem and then starting to address it front and center. And this needs to start right from the very top. And in this sense, I'm pleased to report that as of this year, not only the ETH Board, but also the executive management of the ETH Zurich and of the EPFL in Lausanne will achieve gender parity. I think we will only be credible when we make sure that the teams we ourselves care most about are also equal. Then we have a chance of moving forward. And this indeed appears to be working. Last year, over 40% of all professorships hired by the ETH in Zurich were women. 40% is not gender parity yet, but it's a big, important step in the right direction, and I think an impressive one for a technical university. The last things that our universities need to address is to develop a culture that is more respectful, more inclusive. Academia needs to go away from cutthroat competition and move more towards cooperation and collaboration. If we manage to do this, then I'm sure that in a few years, ETH Zurich, EPFL will be known throughout the world, not only as places of outstanding research, but also as places where it's great to study, it's great to work. And that is something worth working for the benefit of my 2 daughters, for the benefit of us all.